Okay, thank you. So I left my slides in French. I'm not going to talk about science at all, but I will talk in English on them for everybody to follow. So in the first part of my presentation, I will present what is this committee that has been created 2 years ago by INSU, and then I will present a survey of the community that we have performed last winter with an extraction of a few results. And then I will give a few recent news on our last actions and also on the actions over the last next couple of years. So where did this committee come from? It started in 2019 with the kind of request from the exoplanet community to create a national program dedicated to exoplanets. Each time I'm talking about exoplanets, it's really in a relatively wide meaning. I mean, it's really exoplanetary systems, and so it includes the disk and so on. And the answer by INSU was to create this transverse committee, so not a national program. And this committee is transverse to existing programs. So for, of course, the planetology program, because one of the themes in this program is clearly identified as exoplanets, stellar physics and PCMI, that's why I'm here today, and solar and terrestrial relations. And it's also transverse with the specific action, higher angular resolution, because there are a lot of instrumentation going on in this domain that is related. So it's a kind of extra layer, but it's not, the person that are in the committees are not new persons. They are persons that are already in the current scientific councils, and I will show the list in the next slide. So there is a strong link with the existing scientific councils. And the objective was to, the idea was to, the committee was to be solicited by the national programs to examine, for example, funding proposals or other things, and also to animate the perspectives in this domain at this level. So this is the current composition on the left. For the planetology program, all the members that are in this exoplanet section are there. So are 6 members. We have 4 members from the Stellar Physics Scientific Council, and for PCMI, it's Edwige, who is here. Well, I think she's here. Yes, she's over there. She's here this week. And she has been very recently appointed in this committee. Since the first 2 years, we worked with Grégoire Danger. And we have also 1 member from PNST and 2 members from the ASHRA Council. Okay, so what did we do over the last couple of years? So it was created 2 years ago. The first aspect is that we evaluate the proposals that are submitted to the national programs. So we're doing that this fall, but there is a specificity because it is transverse, and the way it has been defined at the beginning was to examine only proposals that were transverse. So if you have submitted a program, a project to more than one national program, we will see it. But if you have submitted it, for example, only to PNP, we won't see that program. We have also looked at other funding proposals, and also some. We also have evaluated some proposals that are submitted to the CS Astronomy Astrophysics. We are also consulted sometimes on the labelization of service, duty service, observation service. The way we work is that we are, in principle, not solicited directly by INSU. It goes from the national program to us, and then we give provide our evaluation results through this program, and they integrate our messages in what they are doing. And we do not have any budget. So we don't care about the pressure, the pressure on the proposal. We just say if it is great, we say it's great. but we don't cut because of budget problems. This is done at the national program levels. So that's one of the type of action that we've been doing. And the second one was to implement a survey to build an assessment of the state of the community. And this is what I'm going to present in the second part of my presentation. But before that, a few words about, we tried to evaluate after 2 years of working like that, to evaluate how we've been functioning and does it work and or not. Since, well, it's always complicated to add an additional layer and a system that is already complicated. Overall, there are, of course, some positive aspects. I mean, we come from different community and the committee works very well in that respect, and there is no problem. We have very good exchanges. The message that we provide to the national program are in general followed. There have been a few exceptions here and there, especially mainly, in fact, due to budget limitations, so that could not follow our recommendation all the times. But in general, I think that they listen to us. There are, however, a number of difficulties. Well, the first one, and I will come back to this point later, that the community was not really informed very well about the creation of this committee. INSU has never communicated, in fact, on this. So we had a bit of a visibility problem. The main thing, I think, is the fact that it is an additional layer. And as I said, it's always complicated. One of the complications is practical, because the schedules are much reduced when you add a layer in a schedule. For example, this fall between the time we receive the proposal and the time you have the scientific council of the different national program. We need to fit into this schedule. And when we have to deal with proposals that are submitted on the fly, sometimes INSU will have the national program to answer in 2 weeks, and we need to fit into these 2 weeks as well. So it's a bit complicated. The second point is the fact that it's also practical, but it's also political. It's the fact that we rely on the fact that the directors of the national programs must solicitate us. And if they don't do it, well, we don't do anything. So it's really in their hand. And so as you will see, the main program that are concerned with a lot of solicitation in principle are the PNP and PNST. It's smaller for the other programs, but these two, we have a lot of, in principle, we should have a lot of solicitations, and it works well on one side, but not as well on the other side. So it's, well, it's something that we have to be very careful of. And the last difficulty, the fact that it's transverse, and we see only the proposals, for example, that are at the interface. But of course, there are a lot of proposals that are not at the interface and that we don't see, so that we don't have a coherent vision and not a complete vision of what's going on. So it works for the moment, but I am not sure it can work on the long term. We also received some opinion on how the way we're working in the survey, and I will go back to this point afterwards. Okay, so the second part is to present a survey that we made of the community. The reason is that we needed to have a good view of this committee. It was a new committee, a good view of the community. We were a new committee. We were coming from different scientific councils, and we really needed to have this precise overview. The committee is doing very different things, following different approaches. So we really had to do it. And we knew that we had to be involved in the near future in the prospective exercise by INSU. And so we wanted to have this overview to be better able to prepare this. The survey was mostly focusing on the assessment of the committee and not much on the prospective at this stage. And we tried to be careful to really identify the interfaces between communities that were present in this community. because it will be something very important when rediscussing over the next couple of years the possible creation of a national program. Creation or not, okay. So we did that survey last winter, sorry, and we received 135 answers, which was, we think, really nice. We know it's not complete. I mean, so we know that some people did not answer to the survey, but it's already something that we can exploit and we can derive some information from that. And the idea was it was aimed at all the persons who had worked in the French laboratory on this subject over the last couple of years. So some of them might be abroad, and of course, some of them were there only for a short period of time, but it was really to have this overview over 4 years. So we derive a number of statistical information from that. I will not describe all of them because it would be quite boring. We have written a complete document on all the answers that we got, and it is online. So I will just extract a few things in the next slides. One of the results that I already mentioned here, so the distribution between women and men was 27%, 73%, which is really close to the average in astronomy astrophysics, but it was much lower among the permanent researchers. So it's, I mean, below 20%, which we found was not really great. We also had a deficit in the number of answers from PhD students and postdocs. So if there is another survey in the future, it will have to be, we'll have to be very careful to make sure that they also answer this survey. It is very important to have this visibility. So just a few slides to describe roughly the community. This is an overview of the laboratories. So I recall this is only from the persons who have answered the survey. There may be others that didn't answer and they're still there. Okay, so it's of course a limited view, but based on 135 answers, so it's already really good. And this is showing you the distribution with something that is important is that there are a few laboratories with a lot of people, but there are also many laboratories with small numbers. And this is also because they work, they don't work only on exoplanet, they work on other subjects as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is very spread. And in some laboratories, you have 1 or 2 persons, for example, and that is in general representing the true fact. Well, not really surprising. We try to quantify the different approaches that are being used, and it covers the broad range from observation, modelization, theory, instrumentation, which you can see it's a quarter of the answers here, and the laboratory experiments. And it also covers very different methods. And a message from there is that depending on the method, some people are working only with one method. There is no communication, but for a large part, people are working with more than one approach, and it's there is a lot of also interactions. I will not describe in details all the thematics that we listed in the survey, but some that are relevant here are, I would say, mostly on protoplanetary disk, and the presentation by Clément, I think, is a good example of that. And we had a few presentations this week that are also relevant, and also planetary formation. And I've also highlighted here the data from a laboratory experiment for which there is most likely an overlap. Oh, and something also that is important is that there is a lot of connections. We tried to quantify I didn't show it here, but the interaction between these different thematics, and everything is connected. Okay, there is a connection between everything, so it's really interesting. Now something about the different interactions between national programs and how they are represented. Again, it's from the survey, so these are lower limits because some people did not necessarily answer the survey. So you have here, so the idea is that the exoplanet activity is concentrated mostly in one of the themes of the Planetology National Program. So the question was, so we made the assumption that everybody that answered the survey felt concerned by this, and we asked if they were concerned by the other national programs or other thematics in the Planetology program, which are concentrating on solar system. So the two main answers, as you can see, are the other themes in the solar system, basically, and stellar physics. The PCMI interaction, there was 7 answers. And as I said, mostly we didn't have all the details because not everybody filled the field where we had on what subject they were working on, but it was mostly on the protoplanetary disks. Okay, this I will skip. A few words about the infrastructures that are used and the development. Something that was really important that comes out, it was not a complete surprise, of course, but there was a very strong involvement in instrumentation. So not only the instruments that are used, and the list was really long. I didn't put the list here. It would, I mean, we listed 48 instruments, so it was really long, and we tried to extract a few that were used by many persons, but even though that were used by a small a number of persons are important, maybe, and maybe specific. But there is also a strong involvement in different instruments at various levels, from really team instrument on a small telescopes to special missions, and there is also a lot of responsibilities that have been mentioned. As you can see, there were 20 answers on the responsibilities for about 80 permanent researchers. So it's like a quarter of them were strongly involved in those instruments. A few words about the budget and this and the mean that we have to do this research. So we listed a number of things. I will not go into all the details, but I wanted to point out the fact that we listed 94 theses over this period of time. Of course, some of them ended in 2018, some of them started very recently, but so it's a bit spread, okay? It's not all at the same time, but it's still a large number of persons. Okay, so this was an extract of the statistical analysis that we made from the survey to describe the community. So as I said, the full description of this is in this document that is online. And the other thing is that we also, there was also a question in the survey about what people were expecting from the committee in terms of organization or actions and so on. So a first part, we got a number of answers on the fact that they were expecting us to play a role in the creation of a national program. And this is something that was, this request, in fact, was at the origin of the creation of the committee a few years ago. It was not well prepared and it didn't go through. Hence this committee, but this is something that will be discussed again, and the community will be, of course, solicited in the future for that. So the idea was to, well, the message here was that they wanted the committee to play an active role in this, in animating the community and structuring the community. And we also listed from this survey a number of arguments that could be given in the favor of the creation of such a national program, relating to the size of the community, the implication in very large missions, and the actuality of the subject, which is here a summary of what we received. There was also some message that we received about the fact that it would be nice to also play an active role in animating and organizing concretely the community. And there were also, the second part was some suggestion about messages that we should do more about the communication. Obviously, we needed to do that. especially with the website and a diffusion list, and I will say a few words about that. So that's a summary of this survey that we did, and which will be important to build the next step. So first of all, a few recent actions. So we have now a new, I was about to say new website. We have a website. We didn't have one before. The description could be found on the Stellar Physics National Program website, and I had a great help from Clément to do this. So now we have a website which is on the CNRS website. We have also implemented a diffusion list, and we have about, at the moment, 100 persons that are subscribed to that list. And it's important, if you are interested but have not subscribed yet, or if you know other person who should be on that list, please advertise that list, because 100 is not enough. We were going to use that list in the future, especially during the prospective, and it's important that it gathers as much as possible of the community. And 100 is really below the number of persons who answered the survey, so clearly we have a lag there. So we have diffused the information through the list from the national programs and SF today, but we'll have probably to do it again so that we can really start using that list. The next steps, well, so far it was the start of the implementation of the committee. So we start working on the project that we had. To start organizing, for example, the website and so on. But the next couple of years will be a bit different. We'll continue to work on this, of course, but we'll start with the organization of the prospective exercise next year. Usually the groups made by implemented by INSU start mid-23 and the procedure will end somewhere at the end of 24. So there will be a lot of work to do there to structure the community and to see if we are going, for example, in the direction of a national program or not. And of course, it will be very important that the whole community be involved in this. This concerns everybody who is, of course, working on this subject, but it is also impacting those who are not directly working on them, because it may affect the parameter of some national program, more or less. For some of them, it will be small. For others, it might be huge. So it's important that if you have things to say, it's that when the time comes, that you react, and that we have as many inputs as possible to see what is the best for the community. Okay, and the last point. So I'm here because I'm coordinating this committee. I've been doing so for the last 2 years, but the coordination will change. So I will be replaced by Maud Langlois starting in January, and I myself will move to the direction of the PNPS. So I won't have any excuse not to communicate with the committee. Also, Agnès has been doing a great job on that. But I know, well, I won't have any excuse for that. And I will stop there, and thank you for your attention.